bring their ass here and start building them desks and stuff in America, because he's going to make America great again. Let's go, Donald Trump.
Politics like that?
Nope.
It's not good for the country. Who does that? Yeah, your team got an offense and a defense. They not supposed to be enemies. The enemy is the other side.
Yes.
Never talk about it. I'm not that controversial.
President Trump was accommodating. I'm gonna give the man this. The man was very congenial.
Just show me what he's done for black people so I can understand, because right now I don't.
All right, go on and collect.
Kamala Harris for president.
Steve Harvey might have just run into somebody who's not backing down, because this time it's not some messy blog or clickbait headline dragging his name. Hold up, it's Katt Williams, and when Katt opens his mouth, the whole internet freezes and listens. This wasn't a cute little stand-up punchline or a playful jab thrown for laughs. Nah, this felt like straight-up war on the mic. During his sit-down on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe, Katt did not hold back. No filter, no sugarcoating, no jokes to soften the blow. Just what he called the raw truth. He went straight into the comedy industry, exposing fake friendships, shady deals behind closed doors, and even accusing folks of stealing material.
Kamala Harris and the Democratic plantation is paying you celebrities, paying you to shame black people into voting. Y'all know we not going to get.
But the second he said Steve Harvey's name out loud, you could feel the air change. Katt looked dead serious and said, "You can't crown yourself king of comedy if your whole career is built on taking from other comedians." Listen to this. That line didn't feel like shade. It felt like a lightning strike. There was no setup, no joke to cushion it, just a blunt statement hanging in the room. And the moment those words left his mouth, the internet went crazy. Now, if you really want to understand why this shook the culture the way it did, you've got to rewind the tape. Steve Harvey wasn't always the polished, smiling TV personality or the squeaky clean game show host we're used to seeing today.
Same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business, and it's a man unit. People, he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the story.
He didn't start at the top. He clawed his way up from nothing. A struggling stand-up literally sleeping in his car and hustling from show to show just to eat. Back in the late 90s, Steve linked up with the Kings of Comedy Tour alongside Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley. That run was historic. They packed out arenas across the country, flipped the culture on its head, and turned themselves into household names almost overnight. But here's where Katt's accusation cuts deep. He said Steve didn't build an empire, he borrowed one. In the comedy world, that's not just shade, that's the ultimate insult. Taking another comedian's material is like stepping over a sacred boundary you just don't cross. And let's be real, Katt isn't even the first person to throw that charge at Steve. Years back, comedian Mark Curry, yes, the same guy from Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, publicly accused Steve of lifting his jokes. Mark claimed he turned on the Steve Harvey show one day and saw his own routines, characters, and punchlines being delivered almost word for word. He even said he tried to check with Steve about it, but according to Mark, Steve just laughed it off and told him, that's show business.
Here in this country, Donald Trump is not going to be that bad. Don't run.
That whole situation spoke volumes to a lot of comedians watching from the sidelines. It wasn't just about inspiration anymore. The talk was that Steve was allegedly taking other people's spotlight and remixing it into his own fame. So when Katt Williams circled back to this, listen to this, it didn't feel like random shade. It felt like payback that had been simmering for years. Katt's been around long enough to separate the authentic from the artificial. And when he said, you can't be preaching about God on television while moving grimy behind closed doors, girl, that landed heavy. That quote went viral almost instantly because it echoed what fans had been quietly saying for a long time. The gap between motivational Steve and industry Steve was suddenly front and center. Let's not play innocent here. Steve has had his share of controversies that somehow keep getting brushed under the rug.
Ain't for sale. We bartering on business. We standing on business. Bring us some tangibles or get out of my face. Only carried on because y'all got paid to carry on. Can we please?
His headline-grabbing divorce, the whispers about infidelity, and hold up, those leaked emails where he reportedly told his own staff, "Don't talk to me, don't approach me, don't look at me." That doesn't exactly match the warm, lovable Steve viewers wake up to every morning. Katt went even further and said Steve's real gift wasn't stand-up at all. He claimed it was manipulation. He accused him of wrapping himself in religion and smooth charm to cover up the way he allegedly climbed the ladder by stepping over other people.
This is sad. We've never been here before. Be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato. Ever been at the point where neither option is good for us in real life?
No.
This is a different conversation. This is, would you rather go back with your ex or would you rather go back?
And here's the wild part. Katt said he had receipts. He dragged it all the way back to the Kings of Comedy era and argued that Bernie Mac was the true people's king, the funniest, the rawest, the one who never had to fake a thing. But according to Katt, Hollywood wasn't checking for that kind of unfiltered realness. They elevated Steve as the face because he was polished, media-ready, and easier to package. That right there, it struck a nerve. Fans have long believed Bernie deserved way more flowers, especially after his passing. And when Bernie died, it looked to some like Steve stepped smoothly into that king title without missing a beat, as if the crown had been waiting on him. Even D.L. Hewley once hinted that Bernie and Steve weren't exactly in sync toward the end. He called it creative differences. But now, with Katt's comments resurfacing, people are questioning whether it went deeper than that. Because Katt flat out claims Steve used Bernie's death to quietly rewrite comedy history. He painted him as someone who saw a vacuum in the spotlight and filled it without looking back. And that hit fans in the chest because Bernie Mac wasn't just a comedian. He represented authenticity. The thought that someone could benefit from that legacy didn't sit well at all. Then Katt shifted his focus to Steve's entire TV image, the motivational host, the relationship guru, the man advising women on how to choose better partners. Katt challenged that directly, saying, "How can you preach morals when your whole career was built on taking from others?" He called him a hypocrite, a man talking loyalty and faith on screen while his real-life record tells a different story, and the audience couldn't unsee that. Clips from Katt's interview started spreading fast across TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Some labeled Katt bitter, others said, "Finally, somebody said it." Because if we're being honest, this didn't feel like jealousy, it felt like exposure. Katt argued that once the big money arrived, Steve shifted. He went corporate. He distanced himself from the same comedians he once came up grinding with. Katt said, "Steve isn't one of us anymore. He's a brand." And that line cut deep, because Steve's entire image has been built on being relatable, the everyday guy who made it. But Katt flipped that narrative completely, portraying him as someone who traded authenticity for status and left the culture behind. For years, Steve seemed untouchable, the funny uncle, the family man, the inspirational success story. But Katt's words fractured that image. Fans started revisiting old interviews, rewatching clips, analyzing smiles, catching subtle jabs at other comedians. And you already know, once the internet starts connecting dots, there's no stopping it. No PR statement or polished monologue can erase that momentum. As Katt's interview trended, the backlash intensified. Social feeds are filled with demands for accountability, with some even calling on networks to reconsider their ties to Steve. A few people compared the situation to other talk show figures who fell once their public personas cracked. What made this different, though, is that this wasn't random gossip or anonymous hate. This was a seasoned industry insider, someone who walked the same grind, publicly accusing him of being fraudulent. And that's why the fallout hit as hard as it did.
For the first time in decades, people really started asking if Steve's whole motivational man of God persona was just a well-crafted mask. The backlash came in waves. Timelines filled up with throwback clips of Steve snapping at guests, clowning other comedians, and moments where that kind uncle energy slipped.
all of a sudden that signature smile didn't feel so authentic. Folks were saying, he's been camera nice, but that ego been peeking through for years. Even producers were reportedly feeling the pressure. Word started circulating that Steve's upcoming projects were quietly being reevaluated. Networks didn't want the heat. They weren't trying to be aligned with someone the internet was labeling a Hollywood fraud. And while executives were scrambling behind closed doors, Katt Williams stayed calm and quiet. No tweets, no apologies, just letting the storm roll. Now, to be fair, Steve Harvey has weathered controversy before. Think about the Miss Universe 2015 mix-up, the leaked emails, and the backlash for defending polarizing celebrities. Every time he followed the same formula: big smile, mention God's plan, drop a motivational line, and keep it moving as if nothing happened. But this time, that playbook isn't landing. Because this time, it's not bloggers or headlines. It's someone from his own industry saying you've been fake from day one, and that hits different. When your peers, not outsiders, start questioning your character, the game changes. Fans went into detective mode, digging up old receipts from everywhere. Past interviews resurfaced where other comedians tossed subtle shade, and suddenly people were reading between every line. There were even clips of Bernie Mac looking uneasy on stage beside him. What once looked like playful chemistry now feels like tension in hindsight. Then Monique's old interview came back around, the one where she claimed Steve distanced himself from her to protect his Hollywood standing. She said he told her, "It's not about integrity, it's about the money game." At the time, people dismissed it as drama. Now that quote is everywhere again, lining up with everything Katt just alleged. The pieces are snapping together in real time. What Katt did wasn't simple shade, it was a teardown of Steve's entire brand. He called him a Hollywood puppet, questioned his acting, and even referenced his biggest film, Think Like a Man, saying, "Think like a man? Steve's been acting his whole life." And what really shook people wasn't the punchline, it was how calm he delivered it. No theatrics, no yelling, just years of built-up truth spilling out. The crowd didn't laugh because it was hilarious, they laughed because it felt believable, and that kind of honesty is hard to spin. Since that interview dropped, Steve has been noticeably quiet. For someone who thrives in the spotlight, that silence feels loud. No dedicated talk show segment addressing it, no long social media statement clearing his name, nothing. Sources say he's heated behind the scenes, holding meetings, mapping out damage control, trying to reshape the narrative. But how do you repackage something when trust is already cracked? You can't PR your way out of doubt. Once faith in you fades, it's hard to restore. Katt didn't just bruise Steve's reputation, he challenged his credibility. And that's the one asset money can't buy back. You can recover endorsements, rebuild fan bases, and even secure new network deals. But once people stop believing your story, your legacy starts to wobble. And that's what we're watching unfold. Fans who once reposted Steve's daily wisdom are now reposting those same clips with captions calling them Hollywood sermons wrapped in scripture. Even comics who once openly praised him are moving differently now. The vibe around his name has changed. It's not applause anymore, it's hesitation. And here's the twist. Years ago, Steve himself warned about this very scenario. He once said, "If you live long enough, the truth about you will come out. Make sure you can live with it." Now, those words feel prophetic because that truth seems to be circling back around through Katt, through Monique, through resurfaced clips. It's all spilling out. Steve built a brand on authenticity, but now people are asking if it was ever real to begin with. And here's what really stunned folks. Katt didn't sound jealous. He sounded let down. He said, "I respect real. You don't have to like me, but keep it real. Don't act holy if your career was built on hustle and hypocrisy." That quote traveled fast. It wasn't loud, it was heavy. Because Katt wasn't just aiming at Steve, he was exposing a culture that rewards polish over principle. The ripple effect has been serious. Steve's empire still stands, but you can see the cracks forming. Daytime shows, game shows, brand partnerships, all under scrutiny. Networks are watching, fans are debating, comedians are side-eyeing. For years, Steve symbolized the ultimate glow-up story. Now the question floating around is, at what price? Because this isn't just about one man, it's about how Hollywood elevates image over integrity. This entire situation proves how quickly a spotless reputation can flip once receipts start lining up. And the internet? It doesn't forget. Katt didn't step up for laughs, he stepped up with conviction. That's why the conversation won't die down. From the outside, Steve Harvey's world still looks polished, The shows, the endorsements, the tailored suits. But behind the curtain, pressure is building. Executives are cautious, sponsors are monitoring, public trust is thinning. This doesn't feel like a minor celebrity hiccup. It feels like accountability knocking. Because when someone like Katt Williams, known for standing firm in his truth, calls you out in front of millions, that stain is hard to scrub. Katt didn't aim for surface-level damage, he targeted credibility. And once that's cracked, there's no easy repair. For years, Steve was treated like comedy royalty. From struggling stand-up to daytime staple to best-selling author, he preached faith, discipline, and purpose. But now that shine is being questioned. Was it wisdom earned or just media training mastered? Katt said it plainly, Steve isn't one of us anymore, he's a brand. And when you really sit with that, it lands. The man who once embodied every hustler's dream transformed into Hollywood's safest face for family-friendly success. But as the fame grew, the relatability faded. Online, people are saying it feels like an illusion just shattered. Those heartfelt speeches,
Those God's plan monologues, now they look rehearsed. Katt even dropped this line, God doesn't like ugly, but he's patient. And that quote is everywhere because it captures the mood perfectly. Maybe accountability just took its time, and maybe that time is up. You already know how the internet moves. Once the tide shifts, it's ruthless. Fans who once defended Steve are now posting side-by-side clips of his motivational talks next to the accusations. They're calling out hypocrisy, saying religion became part of the branding strategy. One viral comment read, his whole career was a sermon on integrity while he was playing Hollywood chess backstage. It's like people collectively blinked and saw the performance for what it might have been. But here's the deeper layer. Katt Williams didn't just single out Steve Harvey, he highlighted a pattern in Hollywood itself. He argued the industry rewards safe smiles and controllable personalities over raw authenticity. The ones who speak too boldly, like Bernie Mac, Monique, and even Katt, don't always get the same backing. Katt held a mirror up to the system, and Steve became the case study for that double standard. Now, comment sections are a battlefield. Some ask, is this a fall from grace? Or was the grace never genuine? Supporters say Steve earned everything. Critics argue that the charm masked ambition that cost others along the way. No matter which side you lean toward, one thing is undeniable. The untouchable Uncle Steve image has shifted permanently. You can feel it in the culture. Audiences are craving authenticity now. Less polish, more truth. That's why Katt's interview resonated harder than any tabloid story. He didn't scream. He didn't chase clout. He spoke calmly. And truth has a way of sticking, even when people try to silence it. Behind closed doors, insiders say Steve's team is in full crisis mode, reshaping strategy, canceling appearances, mapping out recovery plans. But how do you repair something once the audience has already peeked behind the curtain? The quieter he stays, the louder the assumptions get. And the longer this lingers, the tougher it becomes to win back that old trust. Fans aren't letting this slide, not with receipts circulating everywhere online. At this stage, it's barely about right or wrong. It's about perception. The internet doesn't pause for explanations. Once the crowd turns, it turns fast. Katt Williams didn't just rattle Steve's reputation, he rattled the industry, proving that even the most polished figures can't outrun scrutiny forever. Truth doesn't expire. It may move slowly, but when it arrives clear. And maybe that's the bigger message. This isn't about tearing down icons. It's about recognizing that celebrity doesn't automatically equal character. Because no matter how high you rise, accountability has your location. Steve's empire could very well stand tall, but that spotless image, that's a different story. He's no longer just the trusted mentor or motivational voice. Now he's a man confronting contradictions he once warned others about. Katt didn't end Steve Harvey, he exposed him. And now the public sees both of them through a new lens. One side is quiet and strategizing, the other composed, standing on what he said. Whatever unfolds next, this moment shifted comedy. It shifted Hollywood. It shifted how fans look at their heroes. So what's your take? Does Steve Harvey weather this storm? Or did Katt Williams deliver the biggest wake-up call of the year? Sound off below. This conversation isn't done. Subscribe, share, like, and comment, because this story is still unfolding, and you don't want to miss what comes next.